Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? I just realized that now that I've got this screen recording on this computer, I can record actually how I do things. So I'm going to show you how I use drafts to list hundreds of items a day. I've made this video in the past, but I know not everybody watches everything, so I'm going to give you a preview of what I'm doing. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and all that, so Jamesy can get a track hawk. Bam, bam. But so if you look here, you'll see that I've got 585 items in my draft as of right now. A basis I wanted to go over, obviously, is if you buy in bulk, like I do from, like, say, the Goodwill outlet, the best thing to do is separate like items. Your LPs, your CDs, your cassettes, your t-shirts, your heavier items like jackets. If you get a lot of purses, separate category for that. And then what you need to do is in drafts, what I do is make a template of those items. Like you'll see here, I got one for generic, which is just a generic one of just all the little things that I find that I don't buy in bulk, basically. Like if I get a little knick-knack or just a toy here or there, whatever the case may be. But then I have some for cassette, CD, DVD, album, snapback hats, adjustable hats, fitted hats, shoes, t-shirts, magazines, jackets for the heavier items like sweaters and sweatshirts and everything. And the reason I do that is because if you set up a draft, you can keep all your details in there. It's kind of the same way as setting up like a template if you use Create a Listing, which is, in my opinion, slower. So I like doing it like this because there's less clicks to create a draft. So I'm just going to make a copy of that. And what I do here is, like, I'll come to the end, I'll make a copy. If I wanted to list a bunch of jackets, I'll make a copy, one copy for jackets. I'll go back to the beginning, then I'll click on that one and tweak it. And when I tweak it, what I'll be doing is putting it into, if you don't have glass cubes like I do or anything like that, you can put a tote. You know, like I'm going to put this in a temporary tote before I list it, or maybe it's going to be the final tote, however you want to do it. Then type that here in your custom label. But the thing about making these templates is what happens is you can adjust all your things. Like on my second category, I use the month that I listed so people can see my newly listed items that I listed just that month. If they don't want to go through everything in my store or just hit newly listed, you can go here, see all the things that I've done in November. Also, that helps me with my bookkeeping when I like tracking to see how many sales I did on certain items in a particular month. What that does is gives you a better idea. You know, obviously you would think hats sell better in the summer, which they do, but not by a huge margin. So that gives you, you know, a template in your head of what to buy when, because not everything follows trends. Like, oh, hoodies might sell, you know, better in winter time, but yet they don't. They sell, it's more toward the end of summer. So it's just different things you can look at and keep the numbers if you're anal about that kind of stuff. And then what I do with the brands and all the details is I'll fill in like the most popular. Like Gildan's the most popular t-shirt, so that's just why that's there on jackets. Large, most common size. Black, the most common color. And then when you list your item in individuals, a lot of this will come up automatically if you put that in. If you put, you know, a white hoodie in your title, then white's going to automatically come up, and all you have to do is click it to change that. So that's another thing that I try to do often is put these kind of details if you have room. If you just have like a simple title and you want to put more room, I go ahead and I'll type, you know, black hoodie in the title, and then those words will automatically be there for me, and I don't have to click and search and all that kind of stuff. Then also too, what it lets you do is I set up a common price that I like to start those at normally, and then your policies. So you have your jacket policy, which, you know, has your shipping amounts in there, because if you use flat rate, different shipping for everything instead of using the eBay weighted shipping thing, whatever it's called. I use the flat rate. I just give everything a flat shipping amount. Like my jackets are $8.99, and then international $22.99, stuff like that. So that's what that does. And then what I would do is, say I've got a stack of 10 that I took pictures for, go ahead and make 10 copies of that. So that's kind of what I do there. Right now I'm working on these albums. I took a picture of a bunch of albums. So if you want to watch me do that, I'm probably not going to talk much because I got to kind of watch what I'm doing, or I'm going to goof it all up and pick a double albums, and you'll see what I'm saying. So if I don't concentrate on what I got to click on next, I'll lose my place. So I'll show you here. So the last one was an earth looking thing. So okay, so there's the earth looking thing. So we're going to go here next. Blue cover next. If I tell myself what I gotta click next, the Bette Midler lookalike, or it may be Bette Midler, then it's quicker for me to get into a rhythm. Blue cover holding a picture next. That white soundtrack, I forget the title, next. On to the next line. It's a Beatles without a cover. Okay, next is that 6-window looking LP. Next is that little man in the blue background. Next is that horizon picture. All right. So then what I do is come back here, and I like doing things in bulk because you can get into a rhythm and you get more done that way. At least the way my head works. If I get into a rhythm, it's easier for me to get more stuff done because I got less distractions, less stops and goes. Because especially working from home, one of the hardest things is to stay focused because you got everything going on around you, especially if you're like me where you're taking care of your dad, you got a couple of dogs, you got a clean house, all that kind of stuff too on top of it. It's very easy to get distracted. So doing things in bulk like this is very focusing for me. Wish there was a quicker way to do this instead of all this clicking. All right, last one was, I was talking horizon. Let me erase a bunch of these. Where were we? So I can get rid of these rows. All right, so red is next. Okay, orange is after. Guy sitting in an orchestra looking thing. Okay, going to second line. Flowers are next. sure I didn't mess that up. Okay. The Red Sea is next. Yellow Christmas is next. Black and Blue is next. Neil Diamond is next. Red Burst Neil Diamond is next. Okay, to the beginning here. And save them all. And see, just you watching this video, there's already 20 items I've got in my draft with the basis put in there and the picture put in there. Now what I'm doing is, the last time I had issues, if you leave items in your draft for over 4 weeks, the pictures start disappearing. So you don't want to do that. So then what I do is, what I'm going to do is probably get about 500 drafts a day, and then I want to get at least 100 items listed per day minimum. So then if I were going to go to start listing, what I would do is go to the very back and start there. So the first thing I would do is a bunch of CDs, and I've got them listed in my 46. So I go over to my cube 46, grab the stack out, and start filling in the details. So you'd click on it. If it's a CD, you scan it, whatever the case may be, fill out the details in your title, then if there's anything to fill out in the item specifics, and then you're done. You can go ahead and list it. So listing it after you've done all this stuff makes it a lot quicker and a lot faster. And if you're a person who has a problem listing a lot of items, it's a nice way to focus in and list a lot of items. So that's kind of how I do it. So I've got to finish these albums up and then move on to something next. I'll probably do hats next. Probably do a lot of, if you want it, you can vary it up. You can do 10 or 20 or 100, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel in the mood for, but at least get 10 done minimum to each step you do. If you're going to say, I'm going to work on hats next, well, then take your 10 pictures of hats, load them up, make your 10 drafts of hats, basics draft, and then decide, okay, are you going to list those, or are you going to move on to 10 other items? You're going to do 10 more hats. You're going to say, no, I'm going to do 10 CDs. No, I'm going to do this. So it's a nice way to stay focused and do, at least, 10 items at a time in each of your step processes. So that's what I do. That's how I do it. And boom. If that helped you, please like, subscribe, and all that jive. And I'll see you next video. Later, Gators.